In this world of technology, things are ever changing, rearranging. You need someone to help you out. I know someone who can. Come and take a journey with me as we go through the land of technology. You'll never be alone. You'll be with Paul Amadeus Lane in the Tech Zone.
Hello, welcome back to the Tech Zone. Paul Amadeus Lane. So happy that you decided to stay with me throughout the whole show. It's been an amazing ride. Got a chance to share some things happening in the tech world, some latest things that we're going to be doing here at the show, and just my gallivanting around and checking me out on different shows out there too. Yeah, it's been pretty cool. A really, really awesome ride out there. And as you know, over the last couple of months, we've been sharing our love of the consumer electronics show, CES 2019, playing a lot of the interviews of the great innovation we ran across. And our friends over there are continuing to work out there. They did a survey and issued a report of the aging population and technology. Maybe you are a baby boomer. Maybe you are entering the age of 60 years old. How do you feel about technology? Now, when we look at the baby boomers in this aging population out there, it could be from 60 to about 85 to even 90 years old. Are you afraid to embrace technology? Are you warming up to technology now, as you can see how it's really enhancing your life when it comes to independence? Well, my friends over there at the Consumer Technology Association, they did a report. And this report really touched on the perceptions and the attitudes when it comes to certain populations out there. Now right there, consumers are spending about a little over, in 2018, about $9 million in technology. But the forecast is that by 2022, that number may triple or quadruple. Why? My next guest is going to explain what they found out in their report. I'm so happy to have with me right now Steve Ewell. He is the Executive Director of the CTA Foundation. What's going on, Steve? How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be joining you today.
I am excited to have you, Steve. I've talked to a number of folks over there at the CTA, but this is my first time talking to someone from the foundation, and not just anyone. I have the Executive Director. So I am honored, my friend, to have you on the show. And I kind of teased this before I brought you on about the report and the survey that you guys did. And it really intrigued me because for a long time, seniors, I don't want to put everybody in one ball, but it seems like when it came to seniors, they didn't really want to embrace technology at first. A few did. But why do you think now that the seniors are coming on board with technology, especially when it comes to technology that's going to help them out to stay independent?
Yeah, I think you said the key word there. It's independence. And see, we're seeing a population that is growing as far as the number of older adults. 10,000 people every day are turning 65. So we're just seeing a massive growth in the number of people who represent the older population. And with that, they want to stay independent as long as possible. And we've seen a number of studies that have looked at this, and our active aging study bears that out. 99% of people want to stay at home and live independently. Even if they're not able to be fully independent, still 97% of the population wants to stay as independent as possible. And we really feel that technology is a tool. It's not something that replaces the caregivers in this system, but it is something that can enable that independence for people as long as possible. And that's why I'm so excited to see, both for the aging population as well as the other half that our foundation focuses on, which is people with disabilities. We see great opportunities in this space.
And you know what, Steve, you bring up a very good point. I have some parents. They'll be in their mid-80s this year, and I've been trying to get them closer to me and maybe even live together with them. But they're like, no, we want our independence. And to see where technology is now, it truly helps me out to have a peace of mind, because we have a couple of pieces of technology in their house right now that we can help out to help them to continue to live independent. If you could put your finger on it, when it comes to smart living and safety living, what is one of that one technology that you see seniors really gravitating towards?
Well, certainly between phones and tablets, that's a major aspect, because that's something that can suddenly provide communications and, being able to talk to friends and family around the world, and not just have a phone conversation, but to be able to see each other really makes a significant difference. But then when we take the next level from that technology, you're now able to use those devices to control your whole environment. So by tying in with smart home technologies, you can now adjust the thermostat, know if the door is locked, know who's ringing the doorbell if there's someone coming to the door, and do you want to have to get up and go answer the door if it's not someone you're worried about talking to. So there's a lot of control that comes through those devices. And now as we look at the voice assistants that are coming in, that is, even further control, especially as we go to the higher end of the aging spectrum, where mobility starts to decline, or for people with mobility disabilities kind of across the life spectrum, we really see some great opportunities for voice to grant this greater control. And it's really that greater ecosystem. And as we're seeing all these different pieces working together, it's exciting to see everything from health to security and across the board.
And Steve, you touch on a very good component of this discussion right here about like the doorbells and the security monitors that seniors can integrate into their homes. What I like about it too is we, as the children, the caregivers, when they are home by themselves, we can monitor it too, because we can log onto their account from our smart device and everything, and we can get an alert when someone's at our parents' doors, and fall detection and all these different things out there that we're seeing, and you're starting to really see how this is not only giving peace of mind to the seniors or the aging population out there, but also to the family members too, because we worry about them as well.
Absolutely. And that is, it's kind of that privacy versus security line that we're seeing of, there's certainly, some devices out there where, you're putting cameras around someone's home, and we've heard people say, oh, no, I don't want that. I don't want that at all. But when you're looking at some of the sensors that you're able to put in there, it really does. It provides that peace of mind to the caregivers, regardless of where they are in the world. It also provides a peace of mind to the older adult, that they know that they can alert someone when needed. But it also still gives them some control over how much access, how, are you going to know certain information, alerting when things are off and you need assistance, but not necessarily, being on reality TV 24/7 and having your family watch you from moment to moment. So it really does provide some great opportunities there. And that was another thing that we found in this report. It's interesting. You always talk about, parents with little kids, and the parents are all worried about what's going to happen, and the kids are just running around and being crazy. We actually saw the opposite here, where once again the caregiver is very worried about what's going to happen with the older adult. The older adults, they had some worries about falls and other things along those lines, but it never reached the same level as the caregivers' worries in this space. So that's something that I definitely see. It's all about who's the caregiver and who's the person being cared for.
And in the same report right here under safety and smart living, we see home robots and we see autonomous vehicles. And I think these two areas are just going to be fabulous. And I'll tell you why. My dad, he had a stroke about 3 years ago, coming on 3 years. And even before his stroke, he was like Mr. Magoo driving. He never got into an accident, but he caused the accident. So having an autonomous vehicle that can drive my parents around, especially at night, because my mom still drives. She, like I said, she'll be 85 coming up here shortly, but she can't see that well at night. And just the innovation of autonomous vehicles, where we're going in the future, when we reach that point, I think is really going to have peace of mind and independence out there, not only for the aging population, but the disabled community that I'm a part of too.
Absolutely. And in fact, we did a project about a year ago where we went around and crowdsourced ideas for what would an ideal accessible vehicle look like to different consumers. We're really looking for a diverse set of opinions, everything from people in wheelchairs to people who are deaf, people who are blind, cognitive disabilities, but also engaging the aging population. And it was interesting because a lot of people told us, well, older adults aren't going to have any interest in self-driving vehicles. And but what we found is when we engage communities where people aren't able to drive, and we said, here's an opportunity for you to have the independence of being able to go where you want to go, when you want to go there, and you don't have to book paratransit 24 hours in advance and get a large window, but it'll come when you want it. Suddenly there was a great deal of interest in these products. So yeah, I'm excited to see. It's quite frankly a great opportunity because it's not just going to medical appointments and things along those lines. It's going out and going to a restaurant, going out and having fun, which is a major piece of life that a lot of people, when they're talking about the aging population, and even when they're talking about the disability community, they talk about health, and health is important. It is critical, and we're very focused on it. But there's so much more that we can do, and that's where I'm excited of seeing. Where is gaming? I know that's something that you care a lot about. So, how can we make sure that gaming and recreation are part of this, and self-driving autonomous vehicles are going to be a big piece of that as well? My
eyes lit up when you mentioned paratransit. So your stuff, Steve. The horror stories when it comes to sometimes ordering a paratransit transport. Sometimes they come 2 or 3 hours later. Sometimes they don't come at all. So some of my friends out there who are listening or watching the show who are a part of the disabled community or the Asian community, I'm sure their eyes lit up too. And to have an autonomous vehicle to get you your car when you want to is just it's invaluable, especially when you have the elements out there. If it's hot, if it's cold, if it's raining, if it's snowing, you don't want to be waiting at a curb for a call. And then when you try to go inside to get some warmth or get some shelter, they said you didn't show up and they leave you. So Steve, I'm glad you brought that up, my friend. That's awesome. And
it is. I've heard so many stories like that, and yeah, that's where I think nowadays we look at some of the technologies that are out there. Whether it is kind of the rideshare companies, and they work for some populations, but that's something that they're working on trying to engage more for people in wheelchairs and other assistive or accessible transportation. But that's where I'm really excited when we move towards the autonomous vehicles. It's just going to include so much more of that. So it's great.
True. That is so true, because I won't go to driver's training, even though I can be a quadriplegic. I can go to driver's training if I want to, but I'm kind of scarred right now when it comes to driving. So I'm gonna wait for those autonomous vehicles to drive for me. But and one thing I like about the survey too, it broke it up into health and remote care. I think this is just so dynamic, and this is just so important. Please articulate that to the audience about what that entailed.
Sure, and that's where we get from health products, which are things along the lines of really tracking whether it is blood pressure or other kinds of more health oriented aspects versus remote care is when we get into things like telemedicine and being able to connect in it. And that's really important actually for these populations. One of the biggest costs to our economy is people missing medical appointments. And that might be because that paratransit didn't show up, or some other, if you were counting on a ride from someone else and they just weren't able to get there, or, something else came up. By being able to tie people in virtually and, take advantage of of telemedicine. I see some great opportunities in this space. This is also a great opportunity for communities where, rural communities where actually the vast majority of the aging population is aging in rural communities, and it may not be as easy as just running down the street or hopping on a bus to get to where you're wanting to go. So as long as they have broadband, if they're able to connect in, I see that as a really important aspect for these types of technologies. So yeah, I think that's really important. And then, certainly the health aspect, it's interesting. One of our grant recipients, we, as a foundation, we support a number of groups around the country that are using technology with older adults or people with disabilities. But they created a health and fitness team, gave them a bunch of fitness trackers. And this is for, an aging population that most of them have not been mobile over the last, decade or so. And just that peer pressure, that engagement of having some competition there, they have people who are now out gardening and engaging in things that they hadn't done for years and years. So I see some great opportunities in that space.
And you know what, Steve, when you look at this area right here, I know for myself personally, when you're confined to a wheelchair, or like some of my friends who have a walker, not mobile enough, sometimes we just get used to the norm of not moving a lot. And it's nice to have technology now encouraging us to move, accountability, like if you are in a group or something, the competition that you talked about, it really inspires us to do more, to have movement, because what is it saying? A body in movement, is healthy or something like that. I kind of messed that whole cliche up, but you know what I mean, Steve. But it brings up just another aspect of the report to health and wellness, and that is so important, especially when it comes to the aging community out there, because as they get older, they get certain medical complications out there, and having the remote monitoring services where one can take their blood sugar, the EKGs now you can do. All these things just really, enhances the lives of this population out there.
Oh, absolutely. And that's really it's exciting to see, the greater level of health technology that's emerging out there. And, in addition to taking some of those measurements, looking at, where there's opportunities for technology to engage, with sensory changes that people experience over their lifetime. We're looking at more and more hearable products every year at CES, and the engagement there, looking at, things that can do object recognition and help people who are blind or low vision be able to see things. And, one of the things we do every year at CES is we have 5 startup winners in Eureka Park based on their products being able to help either older adults or people with disabilities. And one of our winners this year was a company called Briometrics out of Australia that was doing wheelchair fitness tracking, and actually as part of that also helping to map where there's accessibility on sidewalks and other places, and where there's challenges, and be able to alert people where those challenges are so they can be fixed.
Wow. And I remember the late great Jim Barry and I had a discussion. It might have been like 7 or 8 years ago when I first started broadcasting at CES, and we were just having a discussion about where we're seeing technology go. And then I remember just over the years we talked about how health and technology now, these connected things, we become the interface, and now at CES where it used to be the Consumer Electronic Association, now the Consumer Technology Association. You're starting to see how tech is just touching every aspect of our life. And when it comes to like having wheelchairs at CES, I mean, when I see things like that personally, I'm like, wow, technology is really touching our lives, and how different companies are being recognized by what they're doing when it comes to health and wellness. It's truly amazing. And Steve, you must feel very, very, very proud, to really, have companies exhibiting there who take this by the mantle and just show off some of this great innovation that's really changing lives.
I absolutely do. Believe me, I have the greatest job in the world. I get to, I'm a tech geek, so it didn't take a whole lot to convince me to work with the industry, but to be able to do it in such a way that we're able to engage everything from the largest global brands to small startups that are just coming up with an amazing idea, and we'll see where it goes from here. But doing that with a focus on helping, two populations that, quite frankly, tech can do a lot for, but just haven't been as focused on by society as a whole. So older adults and people with disabilities, we see huge opportunities in this space, and we're excited. We're seeing more and more, as you said, everything from wheelchairs to, we have an entire accessibility marketplace at CES. We have various awards. We saw a number of exoskeletons at CES from some of the big brands this year. So to going to the vehicles and everything, there's so many opportunities in this space and so much still to come. We're excited to continue to push that forward and make it a bigger and bigger topic every year.
I love it. I love it, Steve. And when it comes to the market forecast, because right now here we are in 2019, where do we see the market as far as spending is concerned when it comes to this technology and seniors? Because as the years go on, many more become senior citizens.
Absolutely. And yeah, in 2018, we saw this market as being about a $9 billion market. But by 2022, which quite frankly isn't that far away, it's going to be almost $30 billion. It's going to be about $29.8 billion for this active aging market. So we're seeing some rapid growth. And actually, one of the things we really found in this report is there's a great deal of general awareness about some of these different types of technologies across both the caregivers as well as the older adults that participated in the survey, but actually a fairly low level of adoption of the technologies. And in many cases, that's because these are emerging technologies. There's not a whole lot of autonomous vehicles out there quite yet. And, robotics is still growing. But we see a great opportunity for this market to grow and to address these needs. And, you had mentioned earlier in the interview that the perception is older adults are not early adopters. They're not running out and buying the technology themselves. And, our study did bear that out. But it also, this is not, this is a very diverse group of people. And you think about that, someone from the age of 60 to the age of 80, that's a 20-year gap, and then 90 and so on. There's a wide variety of different people here. There are early adopters there, so we shouldn't be forgetting about them, but we should also be thinking about all the different levels of types of adoption and how we can best engage, how we can best reach people. One of the big questions that came out of this report was also looking at, people were afraid about not knowing about what kind of technology is out there. And that's something that I think we need to do some work to address. We've worked with a number of different nonprofit organizations that are doing tech education. There's, the Geek Squad with Best Buy, and there's a number of startups that are working at this. Home installers are doing some great work on, helping to adapt homes to make them age friendly. But I think there's a lot more that we can do just to make people aware of these types of technologies and help them both install, learn about these technologies, and help maintain them as well.
I totally agree wholeheartedly with you, Steve, about this. The education, we need to kick it up a notch, to educate the aging community, but also the disabled community. To tell you a really funny story before I let you go, I know for the last 3 or 4 years, I've been trying to get my mom to be more tech savvy. She's like, oh, no, I don't need a smartphone. One day she came over and I was playing with Alexa, and I was like, hey, Alexa, do this, Alexa, do that. And she's like, I want an Alexa. I said, okay, cool. Mom is, shifting towards technology. But what really tripped me out was this, Steve. The other day, she was like, I think I'm ready for a smartphone. And I was like, what? So, to see this emerging market out there when it comes to seniors, it's refreshing to see them embrace this technology as they see it can really help them out in just everyday life. And this report really touches on that too, Steve. And before I let you go, How can one find more information about the Consumer Technology Association Foundation? Because you guys do some great work out there.
Great. Well, thank you so much for asking. Out about us at ctafoundation.tech. It's .tech, or we're on Twitter and various social medias at CTA Foundation. They can also go to the Consumer Technology Association's website, cta.tech, and we're linked from there as well as information on this report.
Awesome. Steve Ewell, great talking to you, my friend. And I tell you, you were very insightful for us today, sharing this information about this incredible report out there when it comes to this the aging population and how technology is really helping not only them out but their caregivers too. We look forward to chatting with you again, my friend. I really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Anytime. Thank you so much for having me. And really, thank you for covering these topics. It's really so important to get this out there.
My pleasure, my friend. Enjoyed chatting with Steve Ewell, Executive Director of the CTA Foundation. I tell you, they are doing so much for us. It is amazing, and really touching in and delving in on these technologies out there. And maybe after this interview, you have decided to embrace technology and looking for ways how it can enhance or help you to live independently. Or maybe you're a caregiver out there. Maybe this is something you want to share with your parents or grandparents, and even the part of the disabled community out there. Make sure you take this to heart. You might want to replay this video over and over again, and even listen to the interview over and over again, because there were some great nuggets of insight that Steve shared with us, talking about this report about the aging technology, the perceptions behind it, and also the attitudes. All right, I'm getting ready to get out of here, make it like a tree and get out of here, and make sure you tune into the next episode of the Tech Zone. Will have some more great insight. And if you missed any aspects of the show, you can always rewind, check it out, the podcast, iHeartRadio, iTunes, here at ABC News Radio, KMET, YouTube, live stream. You can definitely catch it up. You can always connect with me, PaulAmadeusLane.com. That's PaulAmadeusLane.com. Look forward to catching up with you and seeing you next week. Take care, folks. Until next time.
In this world of technology, things are ever changing, rearranging. You need someone to help you out. I know someone who can. Come and take a journey with me as we go through the land of technology. You'll never be alone. You'll be with Paul Amadeus Lane in the Tech Zone.